So the car's off the trailer and it's in the shop now. So let's have a proper look at it, shall we? So it's actually quite similar to the last one in a lot of ways. It is a 2005 BA Mark II. It's purple, which is different, but it is a factory XR6 turbo. It is a factory 6-speed manual, and it has a factory sunroof. This one differs a little bit. It has the XR8 bonnet on it, which is a popular mod. It's not necessarily something I would do, but it doesn't look bad. It's got some rep FPV wheels. It's also got the Brembos up front. Unfortunately, it doesn't have Brembos on the rear, just XR8 2-pots, I believe, on the rear. It's got newish headlights in it, which is nice. Brand new headlights in a car always freshen up the look. So it's got the, oh my God, this fly, I'm actually going to murder you and your bloodline. So it's got the half leather, half cloth seats. I'm actually a fan of these. I believe these are the best seats apart from the FPV ones that you can get for B series before you go into like FG seats and that sort of stuff. It has a sound system in it. This is a bit not great, so we're gonna have to replace this piece of trim, obviously, because that's cracked and not good. It has the 6-speed. It feels really nice. Supposedly a Melwood T56. I don't know if they do anything different with their boxes or if it's like a Magnum internals or what, but the gearbox feels mint. It has about 190,000 Ks, just under, I think, 189 something. Now under the bonnet, it doesn't look like heaps, but it's got some goodies in it. We've got an FG intake plenum, some really interesting cooler piping. I'm not sure why there's a silicone joint here. So there's a good chance that I'm just gonna remake that pipe. 3584 with another pipe that's not the best. So we're gonna have to do something about that as well. But it is a genuine Garrett unit, which is pretty rare. Like a lot of the times you'll see people slap on the Pulsars and there's nothing wrong with the Pulsars in my experience anyway. I run one on the 33. I haven't had any issues with that, but it's cool to see a genuine Garrett. I believe it's got an Ants intercooler to go along with the Ants catch can, but I won't know until it's on the hoist. ARP head studs, crow valve springs, atomic timing chain, atomic billet oil pump gears, go fast bits, fuel pressure reg. These are Raceworks 1150cc injectors. This one's a bit harder to see, but in there is a Plasma Man surge tank and it has twin Pierberg fuel pumps. It's got a 4-inch system all the way through. I think it's a KS system, which from what I've been told is like a knockoff Nispro. IMS twin bush diff hat, which is a pretty big ticket item in my eyes. Because I know it's a big pain in the ass to fit one of those. GJ single piece tail shaft, and the clutch is a bit of a mystery to me. I was told it's an Exedi twin plate cushion button clutch, but the owner wasn't 100% sure what it was. So until we get the box out, we won't know for sure what clutch is actually in it. Previously, this car was making 540 kilowatts at one point, which is nuts to me. It is just a gas bottom end that's in it. So what's wrong with it? What's the deal with the car? There's always going to be a few bad sides, especially with a B series Falcon, you know, they're getting pretty old now. So the paint on this door has seen much better days. We've got a bit of peel here, bit of peel here. Arguably the worst touch-up job I've ever seen, where the area needing touch-up hasn't been touched up at all, but everywhere around it has. Worst of all, I think, we have a bit of rust on the roof, around the sunroof area, which sucks. That is quite annoying, because that's not an easy fix. That is probably the worst part of the car, is that rust on the roof. And also, if you haven't spotted it already, we have a Gassy here. This is one I picked up yesterday. I think I paid 500 bucks, which was a bit painful, but anyway. So we have a Gassy. Why do we have a Gassy, you might ask? Why do you have a Gassy, mate? So this car is currently knocking. It has obviously spun some bearings. It does not sound very good. Once we tear it apart, it'll be much easier to show that sort of extent of damage. That's why we have a Gassy, because this car needs a new bottom end. It's a bit of a task, but in my eyes, it's not that bad. Obviously it needs a few things apart from a bottom end. Bits and pieces aren't the best, you know, like we've got zip ties holding in our catch can that isn't bolted down very well. That's a bit not great. More zip ties. Like, why are they red as well? Why are the zip ties red? Out of all the colors, why red? Anyway, so we've got a bit of work to do on this thing. I think the next step for us is going to be getting this thing up on the hoist and actually pulling it all apart. I've never actually pulled the motor out of a B series Falcon. I've pulled it out of my 33, obviously. I've pulled the barra out of my 33 and in and out several times. There's a fair bit more room in these engine bays, but they also are a bit different in the way that everything's sort of set up. I can't imagine it being the worst thing in the world. For the big jobs like pulling the motor out, pulling the box out, all that, I'm going to be doing time lapses because it is a lot to film otherwise. Kick back, I guess, enjoy the montages of me hating my life, and I'll speak to you soon. Okay, well, we're just about ready to start playing the tensile strength game, where we figure out the tensile strength of everything I forgot to disconnect. As far as I can tell, the motor is now pretty independent of the car. Even the engine mounts are unbolted. The loom just unplugs from the ECU, which is like real easy. I forgot how like convenient that sort of feature is. All the fuel lines are off, all the coolant lines are off, so I guess we get to yanking now. So we've got our two motors sitting here now. The plan pretty much is going to be to slap that head on this bottom end. I might go ahead and strip a few of the things off this motor, just the manifold and the pump and all that stuff. And then I'll probably get this one off and slap this one on the engine stand so I can pull everything off this one. So I'll get everything stripped off both motors, and then we're going to create one good motor out of these two. Well, this one's good, but that one's not good. So two motors, we're going to create one good motor out of one good motor. Just like that, the gasket is pretty much stripped now. We've got the head and the head gasket off. I've left the sump on. I think there's still oil in there. So that's as far as I'm going to strip it down for now. I've still got to pull the oil and the oil filter off. It's basically time to repeat the process on this, except obviously this has a little bit more bolted to it. Start filming again probably when it's ready to reassemble with that gas bottom end. All right, so we've got the two completely disassembled now, except for the rotating assembly, obviously. So this is our new good block. This is our gassy. We've got the old block down here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start cleaning this up so we can go and chuck our head studs in. This is the old head, old camshafts with the upgraded valve springs in it as well. So we'll be chucking that on this block. I might paint this block as well, just because it looks a bit not great at the moment, looks all rusty. The reassembly definitely takes a bit longer because I'm going to go along and pretty much clean up everything I can to chuck back on this, because you don't want to chuck something back together that looks completely manky, you know. Put a little bit of time and effort into making it look a little nice. So I'll go ahead, I'll start stripping the old gasket material off. I've started here already. I just use a little scraper tool for that. I use one of these, which is like a little block of tungsten on the end here, which is great for cast iron. Probably wouldn't go ahead and use it on cast alloy because it will just dig into it. But I'll go ahead, I'll scrape it all off, and then I'll hit it with a Scotch-Brite real quick just to smooth it out a little bit, but it should be fine. I've done it a few times now. I've never had head gasket issues before. So start doing that, clean up the rest, and slap it all back together and back into the car. I was almost not going to pull apart this block just to save time. I was just going to throw it in the bin, but because I'm going to be using all the bolt-ons from this motor essentially on the new motor, in my mind I have to see the failure. I have to see what was making the noise. I have to see what exactly went wrong in this motor, so I know I'm not bolting up like a faulty part off this onto that by accident, you know, because then you waste a bunch of time, whatever, especially if it's an oil pump. So I pulled it apart. I'll let the part do the talking. That's piston 1, piston 2, piston 3, piston 4, piston 5. So that is rod and piston number 6. This was a struggle to get out of the block. Have a look at it. I don't know, I just thought that was funny, so film it. It's safe to say that once we have the new block assembled and in the car, we're definitely going to be getting a retune because we can't be doing that. Happy days, we know it was a bent rod, so we'll go ahead and keep assembling the new motor. So our motor is mostly assembled now. It's still missing a water pump. I think I might go and get a new one because the gaskets on them are really weird, and the one that I want to replace requires disassembling the pump. So anyway, I'll just get a new one because they're like 40 bucks. It's looking pretty good in my eyes, other than the water pump. I've got the manifolds bolted back up now. I still have like the harmonic balancer, the engine mounts, and a couple small little things to bolt on. All right, so next up I'll chuck a few small things back onto the motor and we'll get it back into the car. Should be pretty straightforward and easy, so I'll see you then. So that went in a lot easier than it came out, honestly. You know, like comparatively speaking, because obviously I've got the 33 with a Barra in it, it's almost tighter trying to fit the Barra in the Falcon than it is the 33, and it's all just because of that cowl up there that sticks out a fair bit. If that was just the tiniest bit further back, this would just slip in and out and yeah, whatever. When it came out, it was flat as well. It wasn't on like a slight tilt. The slight tilt definitely helped. So noted for the future for any more Falcons I get that need new motors. Yeah, so the motor's back in. I've just got to plug everything in now. I have the AC and the power steering zip tied off to the sides, which helped because they weren't just flapping around, but I'll bolt those both back to the motor. Got to do up the engine mount bolts. I've only just finger tighted them for the time being. Plumb up the fuel, put the radiator and the AC condenser back in place. Then obviously we've got to put the T56 and the clutch back in. Side note as well, I thought it was a twin plate when I bought it, but the owner didn't really know. Turns out it is just a single plate cushion button. He was adamant that it wasn't slipping, and like it looks like it's got a fair bit of life left in it. So I'll be chucking it back in the car obviously, because Falcon clutches are really expensive for some reason, unless you buy second handies. So I'll be chucking this one back in the car. It felt really nice just moving the car around. It felt like it drove like a heavy duty. So we'll see what sort of power that can take, I guess, when we get this thing retuned. But yeah, I'll start chucking everything back together. I still need to go get oil and a filter for it. Smooth sailing so far. Engine is back in the car. And pretty much just like that, it's pretty much done. The camera died, so I had to chuck it on charge, but I had so much to do still, and this is blown out way longer than I thought it would. I was expecting this to be like a 2-day turnaround, but it's just been so bloody hot. I've been working, and then my face gets unbearably sweaty, and then I stop and watch Instagram reels for like half an hour. Productivity has been pretty average on this one. But anyway, it's basically back together. I haven't put the joiners on this cooler pipe yet. This is just, I don't even know why I bothered putting that back on, because I'm going to remake that. I want it to be a single piece. I don't want a weird joiner in the middle there. And like, even if I did, like this pipe is, like there's no bead on that. It's a bit jank. The other one's also pretty jank, so definitely going to remake that pipe. Just something a bit nicer, even just like clean alley would look nicer in this bay. I've got the hot side intake back on. The silicone joiner is a little funny in the way that it kinks. I might just rock it for ease of not having to buy another one. Everything's back together, everything under the car is done. Gearbox, tail shaft, you know, the whole lot. All right, so we've just chucked oil and a filter in the car. We've already been cranking it for about 4 hours to gain oil pressure, which we've confirmed by disconnecting the turbo oil feed at the filter on the front. So now we're going to start the car and see how healthy the Mr. EK gas motor is. Well, it's not knocking anymore, so as it would turn out, having a bent rod probably isn't great for your cause. It sounds pretty healthy. I don't really inspect the motor very well, so that's good for me. It means I don't have to swap another gas bottom end into it. I guess I'll let it warm up a little bit. I'll make sure the coolant is all topped up, and then I guess we'll go for a quick spin. So I've been cruising this thing around now for maybe like 10-15 minutes, mostly on the freeway. It drives very much like a BA Falcon. Coming from the cars that I'm used to driving, you definitely feel the weight of the car, but it's smooth, you know, it's a nice cruiser. This is definitely the sort of car that you cruise around with and you just do the odd highway pull here and there. The gearbox actually isn't as nice as I originally thought it would be. I believe a few of the synchros are a little worn, so we might have to look into that. Also, I believe that I have crunched the temp sensor on the back of the head as I was putting the motor back in, because I have no temperature readout for coolant, so I'm just assuming this thing's fine. Other than that, drives pretty nice. Brakes are good, comes on power good. I haven't given it the beans yet because I'm just not sure how safe it is, you know. The last motor we pulled out had a bent rod, like a seriously bent rod, so I definitely want Steel to have a look at this thing before I go absolutely beating on it, just to be safe, you know. I don't want to have to put all this work in again. I'm a little stuck on content ideas for the Falcon. It's not a car that I'm used to working on in the sense of like modifying or anything like that. I know enough about them to work on them and sort of buy them with confidence, but I don't know, maybe if you guys could give me some inspiration, leave a comment down below what you want to see on this car. I still don't know how to close a video.